In this episode of Revolution Report, we're going to be discussing corporate colonization around the globe, from cruise lines to agricultural resources.
Before we get started, we wanted to let you all know that on our website, handballcourtradio.com, we now have a way to donate to the station. We fund this station with our own money, and if you appreciate our content and the work we do, we'd really appreciate any donations to help us cover our operating costs.
And we completely understand that the economy is in a really dire place right now, and if you're not able to donate, we still love and appreciate you.
Absolutely.
So now, let's get into the episode.
Let's do it.
To start us off, let's talk about colonization. In school, we're taught about colonization in history, like Europeans colonizing both North and South America. It's presented as something that happened in the past, centuries ago. And it's always depicted as a foreign nation coming to native land and taking control.
It used to be taught that colonizers were bringing civilization to the native lands, and that colonization was a good thing.
Boo.
Boo. Thankfully, over time, that narrative has shifted. While some people may still push that narrative, the academic lens has changed to focus on the peoples subjugated by colonization and the harmful effects colonization had on their civilizations and communities.
There's also an emerging understanding in recent years that colonialism is not only something done by nations. Instead, in the current age, colonialism is more done by corporations. And that's exactly what we're going to be diving into today.
So, what exactly is corporate colonialism? It's companies taking over the resources of a foreign land to extract profit. The communities affected by this practice are typically globally marginalized groups, such as indigenous and native communities, that are harmed and disenfranchised by the colonizing company. Corporate colonialism is sometimes also called neocolonialism.
One of the ways that corporate colonialism occurs is through the tourism industry. Companies buy up land, displace local people, and then force local economies to become dependent on foreign money. The Caribbean is a prime example of this phenomenon.
Foreign hotel chains and cruise lines have bought up thousands upon thousands of acres of land in the Caribbean to provide luxury experiences for their guests. Disney, for one, bought 1,000 acres of an island for their Disney cruise passengers exclusively. That's 1,000 acres of Bahamian land that the Bahamian people can't ever access unless they work on the island or spend thousands of dollars on a ticket to visit their own country.
Absolutely absurd if you even think about it. That's insane.
Yeah.
Other cruise lines that bought islands in the Caribbean includes Norwegian Cruises, Princess Cruises, Royal Caribbean, and Holland America. Also, side note, huge cruises are deeply unethical and very scary, in our opinion. The labor exploitation of employees, the lack of laws while at sea, is all stuff we're not fans of. And speaking of cruises, nothing good ever happens on a cruise. I'm telling you right now, I am so vehemently against cruises. There are no laws at sea, but also the new virus.
The hantavirus, yeah.
Nothing good comes from a cruise.
Absolutely. You'll never catch us on a major cruise. Now, circling back, the major tourist facilities and cruise lines that occupy land in the Caribbean are owned and operated by foreign companies. So, the primary profit from the tourism to the Caribbean doesn't actually go to the people who live in those countries, who often work for the companies that bought their land.
Furthermore, because there is so much foreign privatization and corporate presence in the Caribbean, locally owned businesses suffer. Not only are local people being prohibited from land in their countries, their economies have become reliant on foreign investment and tourism, instead of local businesses being allowed to flourish.
Which is an absolute shame.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at another way corporate colonization manifests: the economy. Regions of the world with lax tax laws, like the Caribbean, can have their economies controlled by more than just the foreign tourism industry.
Countries in the Caribbean, like the Bahamas and the Cayman Islands, are tax havens for corporations and ridiculously wealthy individuals. The Bahamas and the Cayman Islands serving as tax havens in the modern day is actually a direct result of past colonization. The British used the countries, back when they were both claimed as British colonies, as ways to circumvent English tax laws and preserve their wealth. And just a quick note, the Bahamas is an independent country now, but the Cayman Islands are still considered a British territory.
An important distinction. Nowadays, countries that are tax havens for the wealthy are incentivized to maintain their low taxes to continue attracting foreign money. However, that comes at the cost of their own citizens. By maintaining low taxes, the countries are unable to pay for valuable infrastructure development. And infrastructure is more than just roads, it's also schools and hospitals.
Essentially, the economic policies of these countries are shaped around foreign money, and not the development of local economies and well being of the citizens. The economies of these countries are being colonized by foreign companies and private individuals, all for the sake of capitalism.
Truly the big bad evil force in the world. Speaking of capitalism and the toll it takes, remember our discussion of Nestle a couple episodes ago?
Yes, I do.
Amazing memory, Sarah. If you haven't heard it yet, make sure you go check it out. Nestle is an undeniably unethical company, and on top of the things we discussed in that episode, they are also a prime example of corporate colonization.
In that episode, one of the things we talked about was how Nestle takes control of local water sources and keeps local populations from accessing clean water, either forcing them to drink dirty water or purchase bottled water. Sometimes Nestle's very own bottles.
Disgusting. By taking control of vital natural resources, like groundwater sources, Nestle eventually displaces local populations when they can no longer access the resources, like clean, fresh water, that they relied on to live. Nestle drains and depletes local groundwater sources, forcing communities to look elsewhere or move elsewhere for water, which is a form of colonization.
Absolutely, Anna. They take control of resources in foreign lands and extract them for profit, and do quite a lot of harm in the process to the earth and the communities affected. Undeniably, corporate colonization. And now, let's throw it back for a minute to an historical example of corporate colonization. Dole.
Oh, yeah. In 1893, a group of white men overthrew the indigenous Hawaiian monarchy with the goal of westernizing the islands. In 1894, they made a man named Sanford Dole the president of the Republic of Hawaii, an illegally declared government. And in 1899, Sanford's cousin James came to the islands and created the Hawaiian Pineapple Company, which later became Dole.
Such a shame, because their products are so good, but once you learn about the evils of how this company started, I won't be purchasing a Dole Whip anymore.
Yeah.
The Hawaiian Pineapple Company took control of the island of Lanai and turned it into the world's largest pineapple plantation at the time. And we'd like to note that pineapples are not a native crop in the islands. Furthermore, the native Hawaiians who had just had their government overthrown were coerced into working on the pineapple plantation and forced to endure horrible working conditions. So, not only were the native Hawaiians displaced by the company and their land exploited for profit, but their bodies were exploited as well, all for a company that was more than happy to colonize a country for the sake of capitalism.
It's abhorrent. And Dole is obviously still a huge corporation today, and they continue to violate workers' rights all around the world. However, they no longer own the majority of Lanai. You may remember that Lanai is the Hawaiian island Larry Ellison bought in 2012.
And I think our audience is very familiar with Larry Ellison at this point because we've done countless episodes on the Ellisons.
Absolutely. And we at Revolution Report are asking, when will the island be free from corporate overlords?
Yeah. Now let's discuss what we can do about corporate colonization. As always, be intentional as a consumer. How you spend your money lets companies know what you're interested in buying. And if you refuse to buy from corporations that displace local communities for profit, those practices become undesirable for the corporations. They want people to buy their products, obviously. And if the products aren't selling because consumers have an issue with how the product is made, they'll be forced to change.
And that's what we want. Now, with that in mind, here are some things to think about while you travel. Don't go on cruises owned by companies that contribute to corporate colonization. As a reminder, some of those companies include Disney, Norwegian Cruises, Princess Cruises, Royal Caribbean, and Holland America.
And try to stay at locally owned operations and give money to local businesses while traveling. Doing that will help boost the local economy instead of just feeding the same Western companies, colonizing other countries. And while you're traveling, wouldn't you want to support a local business anyway? You'll get a better sense for the places you visit if you shop local. So you'll not only be resisting corporate colonization, you'll be having a more immersive travel experience while doing it.
Win-win.
That's such a win-win.
Also, boycott Nestle and Dole products if you can. We'll include a list of all the companies owned by Nestle again on our website, handballcourtradio.com, so you can shop intentionally. And last, but certainly not least, let your elected representatives know that you want stronger antitrust laws and regulations on corporations.
Girl, you could say that again.
Let your elected... We're joking.
And midterms are coming up. So make sure you know what candidates stand for. And I know it can be very tricky with all the sponsored ads coming out. So do your best to find a trusted resource that you can go to.
Absolutely.
As you're doing your research, keep in mind, does the candidate care about corporate interests or do they care about the people? And I know that's so hard to ask for in a politician nowadays, but guess what? We deserve it.
We demand it.
And as always, you'll never find me on the nearest cruise ship. That is for sure.
You tell him, Sarah. That's about it for this episode. We hope it was informative.
As always, you can check out our website, handballcourtradio.com. There, if you appreciate the work we do, you can donate to help us cover our operating costs. Also, you can follow us on Blue Sky at Handball Court Radio, and you can follow me there at Sarah Livings-Walsh.
I'm there as Not Like Mona Lisa. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, don't forget to rate, review, and follow us. And if you're watching on YouTube, we'd love it if you like, subscribe, and share so you don't miss our content.
And with that, I'm Sarah Livings-Walsh.
I'm Analisa Venolia.
And this has been Revolution Report.